Have you ever looked at a beautiful building and wondered who designed it? We often think of star architects, famous names like Frank Lloyd Wright or Zaha Hadid. But what if I told you that some of the most influential minds in architectural history are completely unknown? What if an entire architectural movement was led by someone whose name was never put on a single blueprint, a woman who shaped a generation of designers from the shadows? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of these hidden figures. This is the story of Takamo Mokusha, the Japanese woman who led an entire architectural school without ever receiving the credit she deserved. Welcome to Architects in the Shadows, the series where we uncover the minds that design history from behind the scenes. Our story begins in 1930s Japan, a nation at a crossroads. The country was caught in a fascinating tug-of-war between its ancient traditions and the rush of Western modernity. This cultural shift was powerfully expressed in its architecture. Should new buildings honor the elegant simplicity of traditional wooden temples? Or should they embrace the concrete and steel of the modern world? In the midst of this debate, one name remained absent from the history books, yet her presence was felt everywhere: Takamo Mokusha. Takamo was never the public face of an architectural firm. She didn't give grand speeches or pose for magazine covers. Her power was quieter, but far more profound. She was the organizing genius, the intellectual backbone of an entire architectural school. While male colleagues became the celebrated star architects, Takamo worked behind the scenes, managing design teams, developing curricula, and creating the intellectual frameworks that would define Japanese architecture for decades to come. Born in the early 20th century, Takamo chose a path few women dared to walk. She studied architecture at a time when the field was almost exclusively male. But she wasn't just breaking barriers, she was building bridges. Her unique talent was her ability to see the connection between worlds that others saw as separate. She could take the soul of traditional Japanese architecture, the warmth of wood, the harmony of proportion, the flow of space, and seamlessly merge it with the new modern principles arriving from Europe. For Takamo, this wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about preserving a sense of Japanese identity in a rapidly changing world. She believed architecture wasn't just about creating beautiful forms. It was about creating systems of thought. How do people move through a space? How does a building connect to its environment? How can design improve daily life? She focused on planning, organization, and the deep, intricate relationship between people and the spaces they inhabit. This philosophy became her invisible signature. If you were to walk through certain parts of Japan today, you would be surrounded by her legacy. Dozens of educational and governmental buildings from the 1930s carry her intellectual fingerprint, even if her name is nowhere to be found. Let's look at some of the projects where her influence was most profound. One of her key areas of focus was the design of modern schools in Tokyo. At the time, education was undergoing a revolution and it needed buildings to match. Takamo managed the design process for a series of innovative schools that blended traditional Japanese open spaces with modern educational needs. She championed the use of natural light and ventilation, creating bright, airy classrooms that fostered a balanced learning environment. She understood that a school wasn't just a container for students, but an active participant in their education. Her influence also extended to government buildings in Kyoto. Here, the challenge was to create spaces that were efficient for modern administration, but still respected the city's deep cultural heritage. Takamo contributed to organizing the layouts and facilities, ensuring that these new structures harmonized with the traditional Japanese aesthetic that defined Kyoto. She masterfully balanced functionality with cultural reverence. But perhaps her most personal and innovative work was seen in a series of experimental houses for the middle class. These were small-scale residential projects, almost like laboratories, where she could test her ideas about modern living. How could a family home embrace both Japanese tradition and contemporary needs? She meticulously planned layouts that were both highly functional and aesthetically pleasing, always considering the flow of daily life. These homes were designed not just to be looked at, but to be lived in harmoniously. Beyond buildings, her most enduring legacy might be in the very methods of design. Takano developed specific methodologies for the interior layouts of schools and laboratories. These weren't just floor plans. They were complete systems for thinking about space, efficiency, and human interaction. Her frameworks were so effective that they were adopted by future generations of architects, many of whom had no idea they were following the intellectual path laid out by a woman years before. Her ideas became part of the architectural DNA of Japan, passed down from teacher to student, keeping her intellectual imprint alive even as her name faded into obscurity. So why was she forgotten? Why did a woman with such a profound impact vanish from the records? The answer lies in the societal norms of her time. 1930s Japan, like much of the world, was not ready to acknowledge a woman leading an entire intellectual movement. The spotlight was reserved for men. Her role as a mentor, an organizer, and a strategic thinker was deemed secondary to the men who became the public face of the projects. As a result, her name was quietly erased from public recognition, while her influence continued to spread silently through studios, classrooms, and the built environment itself. Takano Mokusha's story is powerful, but it's not an exception. It's a pattern we see repeated throughout history. It's a crucial reminder of how many women have shaped our world from the shadows, their contributions absorbed into the mainstream while their names were left behind. As researchers and historians dig deeper, we are finally beginning to recover these hidden names, giving credit where it has been long overdue. These women weren't just assistants. They were visionaries, leaders, and innovators who left an indelible mark on our history. The legacy of Takano Mokusha offers us a more profound vision of what architecture can be. It's not just about grand structures and famous names. It's about thought systems and the invisible threads that connect us to our environment. It's about bridging the past with the future and creating spaces that nurture the human spirit. Takano Mokusha may have been an architect in the shadows, but she designed a legacy that is finally coming into the light. Her story forces us to ask, how many other hidden figures are waiting to be discovered? And how will our understanding of history change when we finally hear their voices? Thank you for joining us on this journey to uncover the forgotten architects of our world. If you found this story as inspiring as we did, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories of the brilliant minds who design history from behind the scenes. Let us know in the comments if you know of any other hidden figures you'd like us to feature. See you next time.